Welcome back to Daily Flash. Time for us to cruise through the parenthood. A number of young people experiencing gender dysphoria and identifying as transgender has nearly doubled in recent years. Here to share more on this topic is clinical psychologist Dr. Michael Adamse. Doctor, welcome back to the show. So glad to have you here. You have a great insight on a lot of things. But we're going to start off first off explaining what is gender dysphoria.
So, Mitch, thank you for having me back. Essentially, gender dysphoria is a type of depression that's characterized by depressed mood, as you can imagine, low self-esteem sometimes, that kind of thing. But it's essentially the idea, in the simplest terms, where a person feels trapped in their own body.
Okay.
So whether it's a male or female, and they're physically in that gender, but they think psychologically they identify with the other gender, that's the dysphoria. That disparity between their physical and their psychological self is what creates that depression, if you will.
That's interesting. We had a little discussion before this, the difference between dysphoria and dysmorphia, because we always hear about, body dysmorphia. Is there any kind of relationship between those two?
Well, there is somewhat of a relationship, yes, but dysmorphia is a view of your body that's distorted. Okay, with a person who has gender dysphoria, they're mostly not feeling like they have a distorted view of their body; they feel they're in the wrong gender.
I see.
Which is a couple steps beyond that, if you will.
I get that, totally. And it was good just to kind of point that out. The question I just wanted to know.
Sure.
Why do you think we're actually now seeing more of this today than maybe like when I was in high school? I never really saw this sort of thing. Actually, it was never talked about, at least.
Never. And I'll tell you, there's an uptick for a few reasons as far as I'm concerned. And, it's in the media a lot now, of course, right? We're talking about this moment, but you see a lot of it in the media. And the thing about that is the more awareness that's attached to that, the more people start questioning their identity. Now, the vulnerable group are the people who are adolescents and young adults. Why do I say that? Because as much as they don't want to fit in with the general society, they actually want to fit in with their peer groups. So if their peer group is doing it, they may start thinking, oh, this is kind of interesting, cool thing, and I want to stand out. So you're going to get a subset of people who are they transgender? Subset? Not so much, right?
Yeah.
And others, certainly. So we're not questioning the validity of whether they're transgender or not. What we're saying is there's a subset that's influenced by that. So the uptick is identifying with their peers to an extent and a little bit of rebellion. And also, it's in the news all the time now. So everybody's being exposed to it. And you're right, Mitch. When I went to school, there was no such word, right? Now, does that mean it didn't exist? Well, certainly there are people who identified with the other sex.
Right.
But I think never to this degree.
We have to get to the point, because really, what advice do you have? You want to love your child, and I imagine the first emotion is denial. But what advice do you have for parents, when their children is actually kind of questioning their gender?
Well, I think as a parent, you need to keep the dialogue going. Okay, so the child or the young adult or adolescent, what have you, when they come out with this issue, it's important to have a dialogue, to talk to them about it. But parenting involves guidance. And I want to say this real quickly. We have to understand something. With a young adult and an adolescent, their prefrontal cortex is not quite established to where they can make decision making. That's why we have laws that control you can't vote till you're 18, you can't drink till you're 21. Why is that? Because we're ostensibly saying you need to be mature enough to make a major life decision. Yeah. So in my view, as a psychologist, I don't advocate any sex change. I don't advocate hormone therapy. Certainly before that person's an adult. And why do I say that? Because their decision-making process hasn't really taken place to the point where they can make those major life decisions. And secondary, this is a very important statistic, there's a fair number of people who have transgender surgeries and lifetime hormonal therapy that regret what they did.
All right, Doctor.
So
this is one topic we just could have pretty much for a half hour or so, but we do appreciate you joining us today. Gender Dysphoria Support Network.com is a good place to start when you're looking for help. And of course, you want to like more information on Dr. Adamse, visit MakeAmericaSaneAgain.com. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us today. We always appreciate you having you on the show.